In my video about Fairest of All, which is the book about the evil queen, I said that that book was kind of good, not really amazing, not really terrible. The second book in the Disney Villains series, The Beast Within, is honestly a little bit worse than Fairest of All. If you don't know, this is one of the Disney Villains series. They decided to go with the Beasts instead of Gaston for the villain of this book. Gaston is in the book, though. In fact, he's friends with the prince, aka the Beast. These books are mostly a prequel to the Disney movies that focus on the villains, but then near the end, they become the Disney movie from the villain's perspective, albeit a abbreviated version. One issue I take with this book is that you don't actually see how the prince became so cruel and nasty at the beginning. He's just always been that way. He starts out with this relationship with Cersei, who turns out to be the Enchantress, and he clearly only values her for her beauty, and when he starts thinking that she's a daughter of a pig farmer, he loses interest and dumps her really quickly. So that's why the Enchantress cursed him to be a beast forever unless he finds love. In this book, they changed it so that the transformation into a beast is more gradual. So at first he's just having slow little signs of him changing. Like he looks like he's getting rougher, less handsome at first. So we never find out what it is that made him bad to begin with. I'm going to be merciful and call this an oopsie, but to me it kind of felt like they were refusing to put a man in the victim category. In the Evil Queen's book, they did so much to explain how she started out as good and then she became evil due to tragedy, and some of it wasn't even her fault. But with this book, he just starts out evil. And they even, granted, it is fun that they have references to characters from other Disney movies, but they do talk about Ursula and how her backstory was so tragic. Meanwhile, the man doesn't have a tragic backstory that leads to his villainy. He just starts out evil. It wouldn't have been that hard to give the beasts a tragic backstory that leads to him being so cruel. According to Lumiere, they've been cursed for 10 years. This book retcons that, even though I'm just going to assume that this book isn't actually canon for a few different reasons. But according to Lumiere, they've been cursed for 10 years, and I think the movie ends near his 21st birthday or on his 21st birthday. So he was cursed when he was like 11 or 10, something like that. So it would have been really easy to tragically frame his curse as this little boy who didn't want to let in the stranger and was cursed for it unjustly, and his staff was unjustly cursed for it. And then he started losing all of his friends because they were scared of his beastly form. That would have been so easy to do and so easy to make interesting. And again, I'm mercifully going to call that an oopsie. I'm not going to say burn the witch over this. And not only does the prince start out terrible, he's worse than you would expect him to be. There's even a part where he orders someone else's death for a very petty reason. And when it gets to the part where it's retelling scenes from the movie, this book kind of has a hot take interpretation of things, because that point in the movie where the Beast goes after Belle and he rescues her from the pack of wolves, according to this book, he was going after her with the intention to kill Belle. I mean, that's one way to interpret it. In my mind, he was either going to apologize for almost killing her, or he was going to bring her back to the castle because he still wanted her to break the curse. The idea of him trying to kill her sort of clashes with his moment of regret when he scares her out of the castle. Before we get into more negatives, I will point out the slight positive that I noticed on retrospect. When I first finished the book, I thought to myself, so what did we learn? The Beast's downfall was that he didn't value his significant others for their intelligence, rather for their beauty and royal status. The Enchantress cursed him because he was only interested in her for such things, and he broke up with her as soon as he thought that she was a pig farmer's daughter. And then he has another relationship for a big portion of the book with Princess Tulip, who is she's dumb, or at least not trained to be smart. And this isn't really a spoiler because you know that this isn't going to end with them marrying. The prince likes her for her beauty, and he kind of likes the fact that she's dumb because he doesn't really want a smart woman. But what he thinks is love for Tulip turns out to not be strong enough to break the curse because he didn't value her intelligence and saw her more as a plaything. And of course with Belle, he grew to love her intelligence, which is part of the reason why she was able to break the curse with true love. That being said, back to the negatives, essentially you're reading about this jerk guy who's being a jerk to the woman who loves him, and that's most of the book. There aren't really any massive revelations, apart from maybe the fact that Gaston and the Beast used to be friends. In fact, there's a few additions to explain things in the part of the book that's a retelling of the movie from the other characters' perspectives, because it's not just the Beast's perspective, there's the Odd Sisters, who are also in Fairest of All, and there's a few things that they do to pull the strings of the events in Beauty and the Beast that were really unnecessary. For example, they gave Gaston the idea to force Belle to marry him or else he'll send her father to the loony bin. It just made perfect sense in the movie for him to do that. They didn't need to explain where he got the idea from or who gave it to him. Still, it's better than Liz Broswell's books. I even put in a sticky note that said so much better than Liz Broswell's writing. At this point, I don't really feel motivated to buy any more of the Disney villain books, but I do already have the Ursula book, which came in a pack of 3 with this one and Fairest of All, so at some point I'll read that one, and if that doesn't wow me, I'm not sure if I'll keep going with these books. Well, that might not be true. What I mean is, if I were just reading these books to read these books, I would probably stop after the Ursula book if it doesn't wow me, but I might want to do more reviews on the later books, so we'll see. Before we go, I did call an oopsie on the way men are portrayed, so I should probably also call an oopsie on the way women are portrayed too. There's this part of the book where, it's the part where the Beast gives Belle the library, and it says she wasn't like any girl he'd ever known before because she likes books. That just makes me think, what's wrong with most girls? When you say stuff like not like other girls or any other girl you met before, that usually makes me think, what's wrong with most girls? Why do you hate most girls? There's definitely more than a few girls who like to read. So why does it have to say any other girl he's ever met before? But again, I'm calling that an oopsie, not burn the witch cry. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, and be smart like most girls and boys.